conference. He was there and he hung around. I know a bunch of his agents, and he's a good dude.
Really?
That was crazy with Aaron Andrews.
I am convinced that it's 85 to 90% just shtick. He's
Why
just
not?
decided
It plays
that.
up the whole.
I don't know.
That's
He
what
looked
he's
like he
gonna
was
do.
methed out when he hit on Aaron Andrews.
Yeah.
Screeching like a banshee.
We're live? Oh, we're going live right here. Welcome to the Grandstanders. Well, that's great.
Yeah, here we are.
For another episode here on Thursday Night Live, I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host on my left, Russ Stevens, on my right, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and on my far right, Alan Camo. Well, guys, we have absolutely nothing to talk about today.
It's a quiet week, isn't
Maybe
it?
a short show.
Yeah, just reach in and talk about something. But
Short show.
Deflategate. It is here. It's now. It's Thursday night, and I don't know if you guys remember. 2 weeks ago, we broke on this very station on this show. Russ broke Rondo's trade. Right? We were the
That's
first
right, yeah.
sports show to break that trade, and now we have new information about Deflategate just in, boys. I have the I team. As you know, the Grandstanders have the investigative team, the I team. Remember, there's no I in team. Yeah. And we have been given the ball, guys. This
That's
is one
the
of the
ball.
balls. No, this is one of the balls.
One of the 11?
No, this is one of the balls that was pumped up to the normal PSI.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. I was given this. This is one of these game balls, okay? As you can see, it's worn, right? And stuff. So that was remarkable that the investigative team could get that. And what they've been able to do, as you can see this ball, they've been able to get me the ball, one of the 11 balls that apparently may have been deflated. Okay?
I'm amazed it
so
still
seriously,
exists.
so no, right here, so you see this ball right here, and
Yes.
I want the audience to judge to see whether this whole Deflategate is a fraud. You to judge. What do you think? Was this a ball right here at all? What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, we used this. This was fine, right?
Right. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It fits in your hand much better.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Guys, what do
I
you
think Chad Johnson could catch that ball.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's another. All right, guys. We were celebrating. It was Sunday night. The Patriots destroyed the Colts 45-7 to go to the Super Bowl. Life seemed wonderful. And as life turns, on Monday morning, what do we find out? That the Patriots apparently, allegedly, or maybe not allegedly, have deflated 11 of the 12 balls that were used, that Tom Brady used during the first half of the game. And so my question to you, and then it becomes Deflategate. First of all, are the Patriots, is it clear now that the Patriots were guilty of something? Russ?
I think there's only one way they're not guilty of something, and that's that the refs didn't do their job properly at the beginning of the game, that the balls went into the game underinflated, which would suggest that Walt Anderson, didn't put a gauge in the balls and properly gauge them. They let them through. They may have done a squeeze test, put them in the bag. They went out as such. That seems to be what Belichick and Brady and the Patriots would want you to believe as of today's press conferences. But it's a little far-fetched. It's their only hope. It's their only life preserver. Otherwise, someone tampered with the balls, right?
And no referee's going to come out and give a press conference saying that I didn't do my job.
Right. Exactly.
So why did the NFL leak this so quickly? This was coming out on Monday, right? Immediately, all of a sudden, we heard about this.
Well, Kravitz had it on Sunday.
Yeah, it was on Sunday.
Okay, and apparently the Patriots, if you can believe this, were warned the last time they played the Colts on November 11th about deflated balls. They were told not to do it again, similar to maybe Spygate in 2007. All right, if we're playing the blame game, because there's some level of blame having to go somebody, and we're not going to start blaming the ball boys right now. Who do we blame, and who's the number one guy we blame right now up for this whole fiasco?
Belichick.
Belichick.
He pushes every rule to the limit, and sometimes maybe it's not him doing it, but the people around him do the same, and they push it a little too far.
Do you guys go for this whole shtick where he's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant Bill, and then when he gets in trouble, he's ignoramus Bill, and he's stupid Bill, and he doesn't know anything about anything?
Look, my analysis is that there's a very fine line between Red Auerbach, right, and a cheater, right? I
Right.
mean, the same thing.
Right.
You know, Auerbach used to, we all know the stories. He dialed up the heat.
Yeah.
There were dead spots in the floor. He let the garden get hot. Everyone was worried that the showers were cold, right? There's a very fine line between that and being a cheater, and frankly, it's if you get caught,
Right.
right? And what Belichick's problem is he seems to keep getting caught.
Right. And he doesn't know how to handle it when he gets caught.
Well, but there are people, I don't know if you saw, but I mean, there are people, I thought of the two press conferences today, Belichick's was better.
Right. And did he hung Tom Brady out to
But he only
dry,
had
didn't he?
10 minutes instead of a half.
Half an hour.
I mean, if anyone watched the press conference for Tom Brady, you saw a very nervous guy walking up to that podium, a guy
He
who was
looked like a rookie.
uncomfortable with it. What?
He looked like a rookie.
Well, what did he
Yeah,
look like? He
absolutely.
looked like a politician who had to get up there and explain why he was taking pictures of his private parts. The unfortunately named
Right, yeah.
Anthony Weiner
No,
was
yeah,
up there
I know.
less time than Tom Brady
No,
was
it's
today.
true. It's true. And why did the Patriots let him hang out there
Stacey
so long?
James, that's the,
It's and where's Bob Kraft in this?
yeah.
You know, seriously, is he in Florida
Hiding
now?
under a rock.
Is he right? But shouldn't he? The management shouldn't he be out there in the forefront at some point, right?
Yeah. Defending his employees, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens? It's now Thursday. Is the NFL going to lay down any kind of penalty before the Super Bowl?
I heard Brady said that no one's talked to him yet. The NFL's not going to rule on this until after the Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, wait a minute. You know, why is the Patriots even giving this validity? If this was a legal case, this would be a laughing stock. I mean, there's very little evidence. We don't know enough information about any of this. I'm surprised the Patriots just didn't take the stance and say, we're not sure what goes on. There's a lot of things involved with this. And the NFL and some other committees looking into this. And once we all get the information, maybe we'll comment it. In the meantime,
No,
That's
because
this is a
essentially what,
laughing
but that's
matter.
essentially
This
what
is
Brady said today.
ridiculous.
He's like, I don't know what happened. There's a lot of things that happened during the course of the
Right.
game. I said goodbye to the footballs 2 hours before game time. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. The rush to judgment killed him in the Ray Rice. So they're gonna
NFL's gonna take their
a month
time.
before they come down with the ruling.
Well, Tom Brady's wife, Giselle, is not happy. When Tom Brady gets home, because that boy sweat and he didn't play any game today.
Yeah.
When he gets home, Giselle's going to meet him at the door, and she's not going to have any lingerie on. She's going to be swearing in Portuguese, Spanish, whatever languages she knows. And a lot of the words are going to be, see, Belichick, blankety blank, Kraft, blankety blank. Because I think Belichick and Kraft got some explaining to do to Mr. Brady because, you know, he's an employee of the team. Upper management's supposed to handle those kind of situations,
Yeah.
not sit there and leave for a half an hour.
Well, that's what I mean, Stacey James.
Well,
the
that will be
PR.
the
Yeah.
story through the weekend. The story through the weekend over the next 72 hours will be: did the Patriots hang Brady out to dry? Did he choose to go up there on his own? Is he practicing to become a politician, which we've heard 1,000 times? Like, what was Brady doing up there for the extra 20 minutes today than he should have been?
Okay, but as fans right now, do we look at this distraction and say this affects the team moving forward to the Super Bowl? I mean, this is something, a huge hurdle they have to
Yes.
jump over.
I think it does. What do you think?
I think you guys are out in left field somewhere. I think this is a unifying factor for the team. I think a lot of them find this to be rather humorous. Let me tell you something. The Patriots are going on to win the Super Bowl.
Well, I like that
The
talk, Al.
media needs to find some reason to think that they can pull them down to the level of the incompetency that the NFC showed in their championship game this weekend. This is the Patriots all the way.
All
This
right.
is taking candy from a baby.
Okay, and you know, I got a couple other questions too. That
Man.
a conspiracy theorist that I like to be. Do you feel like the NFL is loving this? This is the week before the last, the week of the Super Bowl. Generally, they don't get that much publicity about the game until the teams all fly in and stuff. Look, it's not Ray Rice, cold-cocking his girlfriend. It's not Adrian Peterson abusing his child.
No, it's a good old-fashioned.
Deflategate.
It's a good old-fashioned controversy. I don't know if they love it.
They
or
profit from
not.
it.
I know
They're
the
profiting
media.
from it.
I know the media loves it. Alan referenced that. The media loves it. It gives them something to do this week because you can't analyze the game this week. You got to talk. You got to do what we're doing, which
Yeah.
is to spend
You
the
know,
first 5 minutes of the
Players
show talking
everywhere
about.
hate the media.
And the news,
Hate the media.
the news thinks that's
Have
news.
you ever thought about this? Do you remember the baseball player there? He broke his bat. All the Super Balls came out of it. And some of them were
Yankees,
caught with the corked bats and stuff like that. And I remember an MIT physicist weighed in on this. He was like laughing his head off. He's going, "You're putting cork in your bat? Oh, so you don't want to hit home runs." In other words, it was impeding any competitive advantage. What's the big deal about underinflated football?
You're right.
Blunt doesn't care as he barrels through 4 or 5 people who can't tackle him.
I agree with Alan. When I first heard about this whole Deflategate, all I could think about was, look, it hurt the Patriots. They dropped like 5 passes during the game. I mean, actually, they didn't. They weren't that efficient in the first half.
No.
But all right, so little predictions, because we're always in the prediction game here at the Grandstanders. The penalty. What's going to happen when everything comes?
I would assume it's a fine and maybe a loss of a late round draft. In the scheme of things, this doesn't measure up to a lot of the other issues that the NFL has dealt with. 2 pounds per square inch on a bunch of footballs that, frankly, the referee should have caught during the game. No one handles the ball more in a game other than the quarterback, than the referee and the linesman.
Yeah.
So they missed it for an entire half.
And it was raining too, so the balls are going to be affected in some level.
I think it's worse for their image than anything else. I do wonder whether it will be a distraction. Our quarterback had to stand up there for half an hour today and get pummeled with questions from the likes of the national media. You wonder if it's a distraction. I hope Alan's right, but you don't know.
All right. Well,
What do you think?
To be honest with you, I think he's going to get suspended. I think they're going to have to. I think Belichick gets suspended for 4 games.
No,
I think that they were
No,
very light on him
highly
in
doubt it.
Spygate. You have to understand also, in Spygate, part of the negotiations,
They
if
gave
you
up a
remember,
first-round draft pick.
they eliminated those tapes. They destroyed those
Yeah.
tapes, and nobody saw those tapes. And one of the deals the NFL had with Belichick is that he would have to go in front of the media and admit wrong. And he went and did not do that. So there's a little payback there. Sean Payton got a year for his situation in New Orleans. They're going to have to give him 4 games. It's going to be more of this kind of O.J. Simpson thing, where you've been guilty for other things.
See, I think their statement today, I think his statement today was specifically designed to address that, where he said, "I have never had a conversation with anybody about the inflation of the balls." So if people do not come forward and say, "I had a conversation with Belichick," and they can't prove that he had anything to do with it, I don't think he's getting suspended. I think Alan's right. There's no evidence trail. You got to have evidence.
Yeah.
Guys, it's pretty pathetic, though. I got sick last night of Deflategate, so I'm like, I'm going to watch.
So now we're going to talk about.
No, I'm going to turn on CNN, watch some news and stuff.
Pops up.
No, what pops up? They're doing an hour special on Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh my
We'll
God.
talk about that in
piece.
September.
Right, but isn't that remarkable? You're like, oh my God.
You can't get
the
away
Patriots.
from it. We're the Yankees. We are the Yankees.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to admit it, that we are now the New York Yankees of the NFL.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I agree
Right?
with that.
Anything we do is national news.
I feel like we should have the Raiders logo instead of the Raiders
The
right now.
Schadenfreude is just overwhelming in the
People
hatred
love
of
it.
the fans.
Yeah,
We're
right,
the Yankees.
exactly.
Get
You either
used
hate
to
us
it.
or
You're a
you love
Yankees
us.
fan, Joe. I guess you always wanted to be a Yankees fan when you grew up. Well, guess what you are.
All right, so let's go to the game. Let's remember that game. First of all, the game was wonderful.
game?
The Patriots
It was a
game,
game.
the AFC Championship. As I predicted that they would wipe them out.
Yeah.
I mean, too bad I'm not a betting man anymore. But they won 45-7. The game really wasn't even that close. Talk about some of the standouts that you thought offensively. Who stood out in your mind?
Well, yeah, Blunt
with
was
the second
amazing.
And third efforts.
Sure.
On about 4 plays, he made something out of nothing and kept drives alive just on his own. I thought Devlin pushing people from behind kept a couple drives alive too.
Yeah.
I thought Solder and Vollmer played
Offensive
great on
line
the
played
offensive
terrific.
line, protecting Brady. Of course, Tom Brady was remarkable.
Well, in the second half, I
Yeah.
still think he has these bouts of inaccuracy that are sort of interesting.
yeah.
Early in games,
Yeah.
I cannot remember a game where he's come out on fire, and I hope that doesn't catch up with him, because he seems to get his feet under him in the second half. But to start the games, I've noticed high and wide, wide left, wide right, down at the ankles.
And no excuse for that interception. That was just
They just have to put
Maybe
that.
he should have a scripted first
be
couple
nice.
of drives,
Right.
so he can go over in his mind what he's going to do.
Right. They need to put that play in their back pocket forever. That
Right.
Gronkowski up the seam down
Yeah.
towards the goal line. Just don't throw it anymore. Don't call the play anymore.
Yeah, the first half was, you kind of knew, the
Yeah.
Patriots ended up 17-7. What stood out to me, during the first half, the first thing I said to the boys was, those footballs look deflated.
Right.
Yeah.
You could see.
You could just see
they're
that.
more
I said,
buoyant.
look a little
They're
too.
not fumbling at all.
Look, I
They
think
look
the
at
story,
least 2 pounds
the
under what they
story of
should
the game was the defense. I mean, we said last week we couldn't think of a defensive player who we thought had a good game coming out of Baltimore, and now I can't think of a defensive player who had a bad game last week.
Yeah.
Right? And it turned out it was an aberration. We asked ourselves, was that just a one-time only deal because they've been such a good defense? And it turns out that hopefully it was just an aberration.
And did you hold your breath when Revis all of a sudden got the wind knocked out of him and looked like he might have a concussion? Right? All of a sudden, how valuable is he? And then, of course, he at some point during the game has an interception.
Sure.
And he played remarkable. On the defensive end, who do you think stood out?
Jamie Collins is a monster. Doesn't Jamie Collins? Jamie Collins looks like a guy who could be one of the top 10 defensive players in the NFL.
Great one-on-one tackler,
eventually.
isn't he?
Yeah.
In the
Terrific.
open field,
Well, the
he
interception
takes
was
on anyone.
impressive.
He makes
too.
plays like
Well,
defensive
that
backs.
looked
Yeah.
like he was the receiver on that play, actually.
He's one of the best pure athletes that I've seen for
That's
the
what
Patriots
people
defense
say.
of all time. Wouldn't you say?
That's what people say. I mean, Andre Tippett was a great athlete.
Oh, Andrew Tippett was amazing.
Right?
Well, he
He
had
was
all that,
terrific.
had all that
Similar
martial
game,
arts
could get him,
experience that helped
get
him.
around
He's
very fast to the ball.
I had a couple observations about the game, sort of an overview of things. Against the game, against the Ravens, they invoked the old college skills of Mr. Edelman to throw a pass.
Right.
Of course, we had Mr. Solder, who was a tight end. I thought that was a great play. And by the way, I think the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, when he called that play, that was a perfect timing. 3rd and 1.
Was.
Nobody expected any sort of a play out of the unusual. You would have figured you would have handed it to Blunt, if anybody, right? And yet, I thought the play selection was really good. I think Daniels is starting to pull out some of the cards to play some
Not getting
trumps.
the fullback
Oh,
dive
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
they're emptying out
But-
the kitchen sink right now.
Here's what ran through my head at the end of the game. They interviewed Belichick, and what was he quoted as saying? He said, "We're on to Seattle." Now, is that a double entendre, meaning like we're on to them, we've got them figured out,
Yeah,
and we're
we
going to
hope- yeah, I never thought
Because
about
he should
that.
have said we're on to Glendale, but
Well, he was reprising his "We're on to Cincinnati."
Yeah, right. That was his little shtick. But a couple of things have happened since that we kind of forget where these cute little humor of Belichick. Also want to mention Devin McCourty, who is a free agent after this year. Apparently, rumors are that they may franchise him. But I thought he was just a monster in the game, and he has been a monster all season for the Patriots. That's a guy they got to keep, right?
Playing with some smarts, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Look, I mean, but now this is for the off season, but you sit there and say they got to keep Revis, they got to keep McCourty, they got to keep this guy, they got to keep that guy. They can't keep everybody. So it's going to be one of those off seasons again where they're going to choose their horses, and we're going to have to live with it.
Well, they can get rid of Browner anytime. So that,
Really? I thought you liked Browner. I thought
oh
Browner
my
was your
God!
favorite
Just
player.
seriously, even whenever he's on the sidelines, I just
You're
feel
blaming
better
the
about.
deflated balls on Browner,
Yeah, right.
right?
Wouldn't that be great if they just threw him right on the bus and said he did it? Or maybe just Browner's relatives at some point. I would love that. We're going to have our Super Bowl preview next week, so we won't get too much into the matchups there. But let's talk about the Packers versus Seattle, because that was the most intriguing and interesting game of the Sunday.
How many people just went to bed that night thanking God that they were not Green Bay Packers fans?
Right.
Because we were in 1986, we were in 1976 with we've seen that, we've seen it all, right?
Right.
That was Grady Little all over
Oh
again.
my God.
Yeah,
right.
right.
2003.
The coaching, really, you can, obviously I think coaching is the most important in the NFL when you talk about the 4 major sports.
Yeah.
And Mike McCarthy is the reason they're not in the Super Bowl. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes.
I agree with that from a level in which you compare it to the Patriots, because what do you hear the Patriots talk about all the time is situational football, right? They know what they're supposed to be doing in these odd situations that come up during a football game, and the Packers fielded every situational football opportunity during that game consecutively for about 2 quarters, whether it's 2-point conversions the guy doesn't jump for,
horrible.
an onside kick where the guy doesn't do his job,
Right.
the fake field goal.
Yeah,
like,
they fell for
it
that.
was like everything that Seattle did surprised them. And if you look, that's right.
Yeah.
If you look at a Patriots game, they're very rarely. Remember when he snapped the ball through the goalpost that time?
Yeah,
that was
right,
still
in
the most
Denver.
amazing coaching decision I've ever seen. Where, and they all knew
against
Denver, and they knew exactly what to do.
So we'd rather have a brilliant, insane coach than a complete utter moron, right? Now, I mean, would you be madder at Belichick right now if he had coached that kind of Mike McCarthy game,
Yeah,
or the
absolutely.
fact that he's possibly just
Absolutely.
an unadulterated liar, right?
Right.
So,
Because he went for it. On 4th and 2, he went for it. We weren't mad.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a really
Yeah.
good point. We were mad at Grady because he was a buffoon.
He was afraid
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make the move.
Right.
He was
Right.
afraid.
Yeah,
no, he
but
got
we were
talked
not
out of
mad
it
at-
too. Yeah,
It's a really good point. That's something to talk about at length at some point. Is just we give some of these guys passes for strange moves, and these other guys we crucify.
that was the first time in the history of postseason that a punter had thrown a touchdown pass. Now, I've been on sidelines in Pop Warner games, high school games, college games. Every time there's a field goal attempt, what's the sidelines screaming?
Yeah.
Watch out for the fake.
Right,
Look
sure.
out for the fake. I mean, you got everybody saying it, right? You got the cheerleaders who are saying it. They don't even know what they're saying.
Well, in
Okay.
the worst one, the worst one might have been, I forgot to mention, was the safety who intercepts the pass and then drops down.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
5 minutes to go in the game. They're up by 13 points, 2 scores, and this guy thinks the game
yes.
is over.
Victory formation.
Yes.
This guy thinks it's game's over. I'm like, there's 5 minutes left. You could
Right.
score 6 touchdowns in 5 minutes.
No, I know. What is he thinking? But I mean, what is the whole team
Situationally
thinking?
unaware. They were so badly coached in these situations that it was sort of astounding to me.
Okay, and apparently, Bostic, the guy who fumbled the ball in the
Yeah.
onside kick, the reason he got reamed out when he went to the sidelines, he wasn't even supposed to be
Right,
touching the ball.
right,
He
supposed
was
to be
his
blocking.
responsibility was to be blocking.
Yep.
Yeah.
He doesn't do this.
Keep them from getting to the ball.
Right.
Jordy Nelson was right there. The ball was coming right to his
Yeah.
hands.
Oh, but another controversy, because the NFL is just controversy 24/7. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter today, but apparently the Seahawks should have been penalized on the play. They had 6 guys on one side.
Ooh,
This-
illegal
Yeah, they had an
formation.
illegal
Well,
formation.
that'll be next week's controversy, right?
Right.
They-
Well, that's because Seattle
There
paid
being an
off the
investigation,
referees
right.
because they don't care about whether
That's
their
very
balls are
funny.
inflated
You
or
were
not.
showing Pete Carroll, pumped and jacked. Now, if, for fans who don't know and maybe have just joined the Patriots bandwagon in the last, 15 years, Pete Carroll was the coach of the New England Patriots.
Right before Belichick.
Before Belichick was fired by Bob Kraft.
The only other guy that Bob Kraft has hired to be head coach.
Had a winning record when he was with the Patriots. Then he went on to USC where he won some titles which were later taken away from him because of
out of
all the
Recruiting
shenanigans that were
violations,
going
right.
on. So he went on to Seattle. He obviously won a Super Bowl. He's now back there. That's a pretty good matchup. Once we get over the Deflategate, Watergate, Spygate,
they'll bring
that's
that
a pretty
up
good
next,
matchup,
they'll
right?
bring that up next Thursday.
Cheetah versus Cheetah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right, exactly, right.
Yeah, he brought down, that's a great point. Carroll brought down a whole program for a couple of years, so.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he's a good coach?
Still down, unfortunately, for
Look,
them.
the guy knows how to coach defense, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing about Seattle. The thing about Seattle is, talk to me after they have to start paying their own quarterback. Because right now, their competitive advantage is so great right now that they're paying their quarterback, their all-pro quarterback, like $600,000 a year.
A third
Yeah.
round
Talk to me when you have to
rookie
pay your quarterback $18 million, and then how much money you can spend on your defense.
Yeah, they're paying this guy on the screen right now, Richard Sherman, millions. I mean, he's got one of the biggest
Yeah.
contracts, if not the biggest contract
They're
for
going
a
to be forced to
cornerback.
make some choices next year.
That's the one thing when the Seattle won, and I was rooting for Green Bay, but when Seattle won, I realized, oh my God, we're going to have to deal with Richard Sherman and that bad circus act for 2 weeks. Of course, won't be 2 weeks now. But is that going to be painful to watch next week once we're over this whole
Not if they
controversy?
win.
No, just the whole Richard Sherman, it's all about me thing.
No, hey, we'll just let it roll off our
I'm
back.
with you, too.
Yeah,
I'm
let it
with
roll
you,
off your
too.
back. Don't be bothered by that.
Will you
Right.
guys watch a
I'm
lot
the
of this
same way,
pregame
too.
stuff? Will you
No.
guys watch it during the week? Right? No?
No.
I mean, and of course, the whole national media, they're all Patriots haters, right? Is that pretty well established? We really have nobody in the national media right now.
Boomer Esiason's always been a.
He's a big fan. Yeah.
Of that terrible pregame show. I just want to mention on the pregame show, I don't know if you guys watched that before the Patriots game, but Bill Cowher and Bart Scott
Yeah.
both confidently predicted that the Colts would win the game.
Yeah, Ditka did too, apparently. I think
That's
the
embarrassing.
guy's lost his mind.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. Yeah, that's, he has his attendant right next to him, making sure. So, Oh,
Dick is going to be gone. I guarantee you that. Dick won't be on the show next year.
okay. So we go to next week. All right.
Yeah.
How does this end? How do we move forward away from
I think
Deflategate and focus
Yeah.
on the game? And as a fan, has this kind of dampened your excitement about the Super Bowl?
I think we were all going to try to kill this week. There was nothing to do this week. We blew out the last team. There was not a whole heck of a lot to talk about. I think by the time next Tuesday rolls around, Wednesday, everyone will be talking about the game. The game still has to be played, remember, right?
Right.
They're not going to cancel the game, so far as I know, because of Deflategate.
The NFL will ease this topic out and bring up the game talk come next week. You know, because this is a dead week for them. They want to fill this with something, and they filled it with Deflategate.
Well, wait a minute. Aren't they? Isn't everybody getting all psyched about the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, yeah, right. And Andrew Luck playing in it. Yeah, right.
Right.
It gets better rating than the All-Star game.
Someone wrote, how many quarterbacks would have to drop out for Johnny Manziel to be the starting quarterback for the AFC?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
A lot. The answer to that was a lot.
Andy Dalton's always winning.
Andy Dalton. Oh my
But does
gosh.
Russell Wilson scare you as a quarterback? I mean,
Yes, he does.
He does scare you. All right.
Yeah.
He makes good decisions.
Yeah. I mean, but
That game
He's
last week was the first time I'd seen him, throwing all those interceptions.
He doesn't scare me throwing it, but he runs a read option and he takes off, and you're going to be looking at his backside for about 30 or 40 yards.
He's
That's
quicker
the
than
problem.
you think. He's like Edelman. He's quicker than he looks.
right, but not that I can figure out what a quarterback rating is. But 5 minutes
was 0.
remaining in that game. 7.
Yeah.
He had a 7
Wow.
quarterback
Yeah.
rating, and yet he won that game. And again, when we played Seattle a couple years back, he actually came back from 12 points, a very similar game, and at the end beat us by 1 point, if you remember that game. So
We were down to special teamers as safeties in that game. And
Alan thinks that we have nothing to worry about.
No,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. Seattle did not so much as win that championship game as Green Bay stunk it up, too.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
both of these
kicked it
teams
away.
looked awful. They're supposed to be in an ascendant trajectory going into the Super Bowl. They looked really flat. Both teams, I thought, looked awful.
yeah, I thought that the line for the defensive and offensive line of Seattle looked undersized, didn't you? I mean, I think this is where Blunt can really actually take advantage of his size, similar to the way he played in the Colts. And I think it's going to be a Blunt game.
Yeah, they'll try to
Linebackers,
run it.
their
They'll try to
linebackers
neutralize
aren't
them.
the Colts linebackers. They'll fill those gaps and be tougher on them.
I think so, too.
Offensively, when we played Seattle, and we remember Marshawn Lynch played for the Bills, and we were always able to defend him when he played for the Bills. When he played against the Patriots a couple of years ago, he gained 41 yards.
But he always stinks the first 3 quarters. It's the fourth quarter he is dangerous. When everyone's tired, he comes to life.
Well, he's a scary-looking individual. He looks like something out of Hollywood, how they would picture, like, the scariest guy they could get for a football movie.
Sure.
Yeah, they would have Marshawn Lynch. I mean, and you see there was a controversy before, because he's a troublemaker himself. There was a controversy before the game that he almost didn't play. The NFL almost didn't let him play
'cause
because
of
he
the
wanted to
gold
wear
shoes?
gold shoes on the
The
field.
gold spikes,
Gold
right?
spikes. And there was a controversy,
Right.
and they at some point told him he wouldn't play if they did it. And then, of course, he changed. So there could be fireworks coming out of
Can't
out of
wait.
the Seahawks camp,
got a
too.
lot
They're not
to-
a bunch of choir boys themselves,
He was
right?
fined $20,000 today
Yeah. All right.
for the end zone demonstration.
Oh, yeah.
So
the
there's just going to be
gesture.
stories galore next week. I mean,
gonna be
it's
a
gonna,
lot of fun
right.
next
This is
week.
going to be fun. Very excited. All right, we're going to go early predictions. We got about 30 seconds left. Right now, if the game was played this Sunday, what do you think was going to happen?
Very, very, very close game. This could be Gostowski playing Vinatieri and kicking a field goal to win it. 45, 50-yard field goal to win the damn thing.
Okay, so you have the Patriots winning.
I'm as of now, but
Okay. Joe?
I'll go along with that, but the Patriots be up by 2 or 3 scores in the middle of the game. Seattle making a valiant comeback, but then the Patriots holding on in the end.
Alan, we know where you
Tell
stand, right?
something. Let me tell you something. Fourth quarter, okay, 5 or 10 minutes into the fourth quarter, easily, Patriots have this game in hand. They are on the field so much that people will be saying, "Who's Marshawn Lynch? Who is he?"
Oh, wow. All right.
We had
from Alan's
5
mouth to
close
God's
Super
ears.
Bowls. No more. This is the Patriots.
Okay, right now I think because of Deflategate, I just have this horrible feeling that the Patriots are going to get absolutely destroyed. I think that this has completely affected them, and we'll go back in history next week. However, I could change everything.
We'll have
could
to
be
track
sunny
your
and
mood
stuff.
next week. All
And
right,
that's our
right.
episode for today. I'm Scott Kerman, your host. Thanks for everyone behind the scenes.